Good evening, everyone. I do hope that you are all well and warm this evening. If you can just quickly give me an indication that you can hear me, then we can start with this third part of our POE. Thank you so much. It's wonderful for you guys to join. I know that the pressure's on. I know that there's a lot of commitments, and I know that you guys feel like you are being pulled in many, many different directions. So I do thank you for the time that you have taken to join in the session as we are going to discuss the third part of our POE. So up until this point, Part 1 and Part 2 have been submitted. You should have your results back for Part 1 and Part 2. So far, they are going well. So the results that we are seeing, the students have really put in a lot of effort into Part 1 and Part 2. And we just wanted to thank you guys for all the effort as well. So as OTs, myself, Peter, Theo, we really can see that there has been a tremendous amount of thought and effort going into these tasks. And just from our side, it's always a pleasure marking or grading those tasks because we can see the effort that has been put into most of the tasks as well. So this is the third part of the POE before we get to the final actual POE document, which will then count as your exam. So this is almost like the final part before we go and compile the big business plan. It also counts 30 marks, this part 3. And it is quite straightforward. There's a few concepts that we're going to look at. For part 3, we're going to look at franchising, ethics, and different functions. So those are sort of the 3 main topics around what is expected of you guys for that task. Again, this presentation that you see is available to all the groups. So your OTs do have it. It should be in your more resources folder. And as always, we will send the link as soon as possible tomorrow sometime or later this evening to all the groups, and then you've got it. And then just on that note, remember guys and girls, you are welcome to email us the questions or queries that you have. So if you're still struggling with something, send us the concern that you have. I know that there are some emails that I haven't responded to as yet, so I will get to those as well when this recording is finished. Then I know that I see some names here that I recognize that I know did specifically send me an email or a message. So I do have all of those in my inbox, and I will be getting to them as well. Okay. So let's jump right in to the actual task 3, consisting of 4 different questions. Remember, ladies and gents, that task 3 or part 3 is a continuation of part 1 and part 2. So in part 1, you've looked at your idea. In part 2, you've unpacked that in a little bit more detail. So you've looked at it, you've elaborated on what your idea is going to be. Is it going to be successful? So you've almost done what we call a feasibility study during part 2. And now coming up until part 3, we presume that the business is now going to start. And now we need to think of some other considerations on how we're actually going to manage this business. So our business, we've identified whether it's going to be a sole trader or a partnership. And now this in part 3, we're going to look at how we're going to manage this task, okay? If we had to grow and we had to franchise, how would we manage that? How would we manage the conduct, the behavior within our business? And how are we to create functions in the business so that it actually works smoothly? So the instructions for us are, we are starting up and managing a business, and this requires one to act responsibly and ethically at all times. It is also important that one carefully considers the management team and opportunities to franchise, okay, in order to create a bigger brand name, increase your market. You are going to discuss the aspects of franchising. You are going to develop a code of conduct, with the ethics in your business, and you are going to be looking at a management team. So those are the 3 important concepts that we are going to unpack for task 3. So the first part that we look at when we look at the first question is for us to consider franchising, okay? So we've known we need to think a little bit in the future. So remember, it's not to say at this point that your business is going to franchise. It is just going to look at, if you were to franchise, okay, what type of franchising would you consider? Okay, so it's not to say that you are going to franchise, it's not to say that you are definitely going to be franchising, whatever. It's to say, if you were to, what type and what model of franchising would you need to consider? Okay, and again, you can see the questions there, or at least the starting point that you can use, that you would want to follow them from chapter 7. Okay, so remember, this is only for 4 marks, so I always tell my, try and keep it as simple as possible. But if you had to open your book, if you've got a textbook with you, or if you're listening to the recording and you look, they give you the different types of franchising. You need to choose one type of franchising and one model of franchising. Okay, so if you look, you'll see that they give us the two different types of franchising that we have. The first type would be business format franchising, or product or trade name franchising. So you are going to choose one of those types and say why you would choose it. So let's say, for example, you say, my business would be best suited to a business format franchising unit. This is because, and you give the reason, the justification as to why you would choose that. And then you look at the model. Now, there are many different models that you can use. In your textbook, they give you at least 13 or 14, but if you had to research it, you could find even more of them. So you choose any one of those models that you could in order to do it. And again, you need to justify it. Justify the model that you would use, okay? So say now you would say that the franchise would be, how do you say joint venture? What is the reason why you would say joint venture? Okay, so split it up into two different parts. The type for 2 marks, what type of franchising versus the model of franchising. And as long as you are able to justify why you say that, you should get your marks here, okay? So you must be able to justify and to sort of prove to your OT, why would you say that your idea would be a product franchise and a unit franchise, okay? Oh, shame, does it? Is it lagging a bit? Let's just see if it. Sorry guys, if it gets too bad, just let me know. My connection's got a green tick here which says it is okay, but just let me know if it gets too bad, then I can reconnect as well. I promise I'm not talking too fast. So franchising, question 1 for 4 marks, divided up into the two parts. Like I said, the first part, type, and then the model of franchise. It can get quite confusing because types and models are the same type of things, but if you just follow that, the type of franchise and then the model of franchise, okay, and choose one or the other. So if it gets too bad, guys, if you can just tell me, and then I can just try and reconnect or see what the problem is. Okay, if it gets like really really bad and you can't hear what I'm saying. Okay. And then for the next question, which is question 2, we are going to be looking at the ethical dilemmas, okay? Yes, that's correct, Gaston. So the first one is the type of franchising, and the second part is the model of franchising. So 2 marks for type, 2 marks for model. So divided up in those categories, like you've said there as well. Okay. Now, ethical dilemmas, if we look at that word dilemmas, is choices, is problems that a businessman or an entrepreneur is going to face. A dilemma. Am I going to do what is right, or am I going to do what is wrong? Ethical dilemma. I need to make a choice between spending more money and doing something that is right, or cutting corners and doing something that is wrong. That is a dilemma that an entrepreneur is faced. And in the workplace, again, there are many dilemmas that we face, okay? And you need to discuss some of the dilemmas that your business might be faced with, okay? So discuss some of the choices that your business would have to make, okay? So if we have to think of an example here, say now we think about advertising, say now your product is selling fruit juice and you want to advertise it as 100% orange juice, okay? Because you know that that will sell if people read 100% orange juice. But you know that you put apple juice in there or pear juice, so technically it's not 100% orange juice. Are you going to still advertise it as 100% orange and get more sales, more profit? Or are you going to be ethical and advertise it for what it is, okay? So false advertising. Safety of products, packaging of products, advertising, competitive advertising. Are you going to use a competitor's brand name in your advert, which is unethical and not allowed, but it could mean that you get more things? Are you going to use good quality products, or are you going to try and use cheaper raw materials to try and save costs, because then you're going to make more money, but it's not right? Again, an ethical dilemma that you would face, okay? So again, these are hypothetical dilemmas. It doesn't mean that your business is facing them. It means that your business might face them. Okay, so what type of dilemmas would your business face, or could your business face, okay, in terms of safety of the products, the services, the prices, the quality of the raw materials that are going in, the advertising that you would be doing, social awareness of what you're going to be doing as well, competitive advertising. So any of those would be acceptable forms of ethical dilemmas. And again, you need to discuss them. And this is for 6 marks. So I always tell the students, give us 6 ethical dilemmas. Okay? Sorry if you hear the dogs barking in the background. I'm not sure what they're barking, but they're quite loud. So I do apologize for that. So 6 ethical dilemmas that would be pertinent to your business, that are applicable to your business. Okay? Remember, it's important to know that these may not have happened, but they might. So what ethical dilemmas, what choices that your business entrepreneur might be facing, okay? And again, I always tell the students, list 6 of them, because then you know that you're going to, and explain them. So guys, it doesn't have to be an essay for each one of them, okay? Oh, sorry, you're right. 6 marks, 3 dilemmas. You are right. So you need to, for 6 marks, list the 3 dilemmas that you would have. List the dilemmas, list the choices, like I mentioned, that your business would need. Yes, so it's only 3 dilemmas worth 6 marks there. Thank you. List 3 and explain. That's exactly it. So 3 dilemmas for 6 marks, okay? That you would need to do there. So discuss them. Remember, it doesn't have to be an essay for each one. So you don't have to go into detail if you are saying, let's say, the quality of the raw materials. You don't have to explain into detail about what the raw materials are and what the quality is. You just need to explain why that could be an ethical dilemma for your business. Okay. So that's then question 2. Then we move on to question 3, which is a little bit more of a tricky question, where we speak about the code of conduct. So here we're going to take those ethical dilemmas, and we are going to be developing a code of conduct, okay? So Gaston, just to answer that question, remember, referencing is always important, and it will be important for part 3 as well. And saying that, guys, we haven't had that many plagiarism issues with these, so thank you for that as well. So remember, the golden rule is, if you are basing your answer or your scenario on something that you have read or something in the textbook, then you need to reference. If you are, if it is completely your own thinking and that is based on your own thoughts, then you're not going to reference. Okay, so if your scenario that you are speaking about is based on, for example, the safety of products, which comes from the textbooks, fun art, then you're going to reference fun art. But if it's completely your own things, but if you are using the dilemmas that are from your textbook or any other resource, then you're going to reference that resource, even though it's been adjusted to suit your business. The idea comes from the textbook. Okay, experience definitely counts. A lot of the time you will have experience, but like I say, just always think to yourself, where is this idea coming from? It's coming from my own experience, but have I read about it somewhere? Is there some theory that has sparked this idea within my brain as well? Yes, and definitely what you're saying there, the dilemmas come from what I always tell the students with this question, if we just go back to it, is you'll see in the textbook they give you the dilemmas. Okay, so my advice to the students is to stick to those dilemmas and adapt those dilemmas to your business idea. Okay, there might be one or two that are completely unique to your business, but try and see if any of them do fit into these broad categories, because most of these categories you will find that your idea, your own business idea that you have there, does fit into one of those categories that they list in the textbook. Okay, so read through the dilemmas and then see, oh yes, my idea fits into the dilemma of advertising. Okay, and there's a category for advertising in the textbook, so then I'm going to reference fun art, Poseidon Hout, because that's the textbook that I'm basing it on as well. Okay. Experience, I'm afraid, Gaston, you can't reference experience. Hey, I'm glad you've got the experience and you're welcome to use it. But like I always say, a good point of call I always tell my students is, where did that idea come from? Yes, it came from your own thinking, but was it sparked or initiated by something that you read or something in the textbook? Okay. And then if there's no other questions, let me just quickly see. I think all is good there when it comes to the questions. So let's move on then to question 3, developing a code of ethics. Okay, so this is a little bit more tricky because it is again dependent on your business idea, and it's for 5 marks, the code of ethics. Okay, so what I always tell the students is that this code of ethics needs to reflect your company values. Okay, there are lots of examples that you can base your code of ethics on. There is no specific structure that we need the ethics to follow. Okay, there is a guide in the textbook where they give you the structure. If you've done it in a different way, as long as you have the elements of the code of ethics, we will be happy. Okay, so in your code of ethics, write a preamble. Okay, so write a little bit about who the founder of the business is, then apply the code. Okay, code of ethics is the way that you want your people to behave in your company. What are the values? Okay, so if you have employees in your business, how must they behave? What must they what is the behavior? What are the values that they reflect in the way that they conduct themselves? Okay, so you would have, who is this code applicable for? The code is applicable for employees, it's applicable for the management. What is the code? So we refer to that as sort of the general obligation. So you'll see there on page 214, they give you the structure of the code of ethics. I always tell the students, follow that structure and apply it to your business idea. So like I mentioned, the preamble, which is just a brief introduction as to the company, the CEO, who is the code applicable for, and then you'll see under general obligations and specific issues, you then write or list the exact things that you want to be done in your business. Okay, so the guidelines that employees must follow, the guidelines that you want the managers to follow your um, based on your business. So it could be something like a dress code, that you will not tolerate sexual harassment or gender harassment within the business. Okay, how are you going to make sure that all your employees follow the hygiene protocol? If you are preparing food, for example, what is the hygiene protocol? They must wear their chef hats or their little netted hats to keep their hair in place. They must wash their hands regularly. They must wear their gloves. Okay, that's the basic values or the behaviors that you want them to be instilled in the business. Okay, they need to treat the customer with respect and be friendly at all times. Okay, what is their responsibility towards the environment, towards society? So there are so many different code of ethics. Okay, you don't have to include all of them. Just write the structure, the preamble, who is the code applicable for, the general obligations, and the specific issues that you might face within your business. Okay, so what it is that you want your people who work in your company to value. What are the values that they are selling? What are the behaviors that you want? You will not tolerate X, Y, and Z. You expect your employees to act like X, Y, and Z. This code of conduct is applicable for all the employees of the business. Remember, if you're a sole trader, you are writing this code of ethics for yourself. Okay? So you are writing it for yourself. So you would then say, under the application of the code, the application of the code would be for the manager, which is myself, but it could be applicable in the future if anyone else is employed within the business. Okay, so kind of there's no real different mark allocation here. You would basically get 1 mark for the preamble, 1 mark for the application of the code, and then 3 marks for the values. So ultimately it would be either 3 values or 3 marks or 3 ethic types that you would do. So 1 mark for preamble, 1 mark for application, and then the remaining 3 marks would be for the values or the behavior expectations that you would have. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And then the last question that we have is the functional areas of the business. Okay, and we need 5 functional areas. Okay, so we need at least 5 functional areas that we are going to explain. You will notice that I haven't written a page number here because there's so much information, and most of the information is on very different parts in your textbook, so it was too much to write. But let's quickly go through what is expected for this question for the 15 marks. So this is the biggest part of the question. Half of the marks are coming from question 4. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, our functional areas are exactly that. Okay, so we've got human resources management. Okay, we've got financial management, we've got marketing management, we've got operations management. Okay, we've got procurement, we've got many different functions within a business. You need to choose any 5 of the functional areas. You need to explain that functional area. So for example, let's say finances. So explain what is the financial function of a business, and then explain a task that each function will be responsible for. So you would say, for example, functional management is responsible for X, Y, and Z. This is what financial management, the finance function in a business is, whatever it is. And a task that the financial manager would be responsible for would be to prepare the budget. So it's a task, it's a physical and actual task that they're going to be doing. The human resource management is a functional area of the business. Human resources are responsible for this. One of the tasks that they would be to ensure that all new employees are onboarded correctly, are trained, and are taught the ropes within the business. So that's a task that each functional area is going to do. So it has to be applicable to that function, okay? So whatever task it is, so you need to first of all explain the functional area, and then you need to give it a task. So we're looking at 2 marks for explaining the functional area, so defining the 5 functional areas, and they can be any 5 functional areas, okay? So they can be any 5 functional areas of the business that are of your business, okay? So if you don't have, let's say, operations within your operations management, you're not going to use operations. Most of the and then you need to explain a task that each functional area would be responsible for. So that would then be the total of 50 marks, 3 marks for each functional area. Start the functional area with a definition and then go on to write a task specific for each one of those functional areas. So if you are looking at marketing functional area, what is a task that is specific to marketing? Okay, so first of all, explain what the marketing functional area is, and then find a task that is specific for that functional area. And that is your assignment, ladies and gents. That is the 4 questions there. The total marks would be 30 marks. Question 1, remember, looking at franchising, we are looking at a type and a model of franchising. Question 2, we are looking at those ethical dilemmas, the 3 ethical dilemmas. Question 3, developing a code of ethics. And question 4, explaining the 5 functional areas of your business. Okay, if you've got questions, you're welcome to ask them. Just to wrap up before we're done, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that move on. So you're going to use part. You don't have to resubmit part 1 and part 2, so you can keep part 1 and part 2 separate. You are only submitting part 3. But it is based on the same idea that you would have. It's based on the same things. Remember to have in-text referencing and a reference list. It is an assignment. It's submitted via Safe Assign as per normal. Proofread before you're submitting. And remember, it is based, like I say, on the previous assignments or part that you would have. So part 1 is your idea. Part 2 is sort of the feasibility study. And now part 3, we are looking at the code of ethics, and then we will be looking at the POE there as well. Okay, so be creative, continue to work hard. We do appreciate it. I'm going to stay online. If there are any other questions, feel free to ask this as well. And then if not, I say good night to you guys. Thanks again. Good luck. Remember, the task is due. Let me just quickly give you that date. I just want to quickly just open it up here. It is due on Monday, the 29th of May. So you've got just less than a week to do it for that submission as per normal. Part 3, the final part, and then we work on the POE for June. And yes, there is definitely NSSs for the final POE. We've got quite a few sessions before that. We do have them scheduled. I can't see when they are now right now, but I do have them. Here's one is on the what date? Tuesday. There's NSS, but I will always send you guys reminders for them as well. So we've got one on the 30th of May. We've got just a class collab, so that will be just my students on the 30th of May. Anyone can join though. And then there's another session on the 6th of June, but you guys will always get those reminders. But we do definitely discuss the POE. The POE is quite a lengthy document. There's a lot of information that goes into the POE as well. Okay. There you go. Thank you, Gaston, for sorting out Kayla and Joanne. So the WhatsApp group, remember, I don't have a WhatsApp group. I don't have a link for the WhatsApp group. Maybe, Ricardo, if you're listening, if you don't mind emailing me just the link as well, because I do get asked quite a bit for the WhatsApp group, so then I can also just forward it on. So if you don't mind just either popping it here in the chat for us or sending it onto my email address, I would greatly appreciate that as well. Stay warm, guys. Work hard. I know I always say this, but the pressure, it's always like you're on a roller coaster right now. Just hold on tight. Remember, the end of the semester is almost here, and then you can have a bit of a break. But keep showing up because it will pay off. It may feel like, I say, a roller coaster right now, but at the end of the day, it is going to pay off. So just head above water, head above water. That's all from my side, everyone. I wish you a wonderful evening. I will stay online if there are any other questions. Like I say, I know that there were some emails from some of these names. I'm sure you also sent me an email, Ricardo. I remember seeing your name. So I know that I do have some emails that I will get to tonight. So I will go and look at them as well. And other than that, good night, guys. Good luck. I look forward to reading task threes on Monday or Tuesday, Monday, and then I will make sure that all of the links go onto all the respective OTs and that you can also have this document available to you. Gaston, you're welcome to talk. I'm listening.
Thanks, Kim. So you said for question 4, we need to explain the functional areas for that, and that's 2 marks each, and then
Yes.
explain the task that each functional area will cover, and then you said write something, but your audio broke up.
Oh, shame. Okay, so I was just saying explain the functional area. So, for example, marketing, what is the marketing function? And then just write a task. So, a specific doing task. So, something that they must do for marketing. So, for example, a task for marketing would be designing a marketing strategy or designing a promotion for the product. So it's an action, it's a something that they must do, it's a physical doing thing, a task. So first of all is the explaining, it's the theory behind it, and then the second part is the task. So what will I actually be doing? What is my action that needs to be taken place in that? So if I'm
So if you
finances,
were, as an
I'm
example, as a retail store, the functional area for selling would be the teller checking the products and then pricing it and then giving the pricing to the customer, as an
Yes,
example.
but remember our functional areas could be also much deeper than that. So remember our
Yeah,
general functional
I
areas.
was just using it
Oh,
as an
okay.
example. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, 100%. So then it would be, so say now you had a teller as your operation. So your operations management is part of that. You've got someone who's sitting at the till. Her job is to literally check the products out. So she's going to be ringing that's her physical, her actual job that she's doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense, I guess? And so it's the action that needs to take place.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to. Like I said, the audio broke up, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Samuel. So, like your financial manager, a task for that would be drawing up a budget. That's the action that needs to happen from the financial function.
Okay.
Okay. Shame. Let me know if there's any other audio that broke up, then I can also go and repeat it. And even if you're listening later on and there's something that didn't quite come through, just let me know. Then I can go and re-record it or just, explain whatever question it was that you couldn't hear properly.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, no problem. Bye.
Okay. Cheers.